Hello, everyone. We are live. Who all's here so far? The Unfinished Project and Lars were here. Hot Rod Guy, Garage, Russell. Twisted Dennis, Run Dennis Run. My Aunt Nancy is here. The One-Eyed Cat, Don English. My Aunt Nancy says, happy very cold Friday. Yeah, it's not too warm today, but just remember, it's just November. It's going to be much worse for months to come. I'll just say it and get it over with because we all know that's true. Junkyard D, any guesses on the number? Well, unless you have x-ray vision. The Lone Wrench Garage Mike is here. Wrong English. Do we get a countdown on the paper? I said it'd be on the paper. I didn't say you could see it. I got to really get things 100% before I can roll them. So Turbo Tom wants to do something different this year. Yeah, I'll tell you what, though, man, nobody's complaining about you bringing the Model T, though. We all love it. Dean Stevenson, loaded down from all the turkey. I ate a little tiny bit of turkey yesterday. Not much. Danny Boyd says, my stomach needs rebuilt. Most people don't need a rebuilt stomach. They need a downsizing of stomach. That's most people. Says, I think I over-revved it. Pure Pontiac Garage, SSR Performance. I was hoping to see that number. Never know. Mohawk 62. I promise I'm not doing that just to pull your chain, though. All right. Unity Motorsports Garage, Andy Wood is here. He says, howdy, folks. Hello, Andy. Good to see you, buddy. Big Mike of the Hoopty Barn says, howdy, folks. Wrong English says, Mother Nature is just getting us acclimated to the changing seasons. Oh, it's awful, though. It's terrible. I would just take a coma, every January and February. It's that bad. There's just no redeeming quality to temperatures this cold. Cousin Cletus is here. I've been enjoying the Nate and the Haters podcast. Those boys, I believe, have 13 episodes up, and they just have a good time and hang out. Aunt D says, hello, all. Good-looking coupe on the thumbnail. Yeah, that was just in traffic a couple days ago. There's just a dude just driving along from uptown Christiansburg, driving out near where he didn't live too far from me. There's actually two guys who have Model A's on the road down from my street. And he's just out riding around. And it looks like it even, I don't know if it's original paint. It probably is, but it's black lacquer and it is old. So it could even be original paint on that car. Andrew Nelson says, good evening from Team Nivlac 57. Hello, Andrew. Thank you for joining us, sir. The One-Eyed Cat says, Wendy did turkey dinner last weekend. We're already done with leftovers. And that's... What's important is time with family, have a meal. I don't get wrapped up about the day. Besides, I got to tell you, the whole Thanksgiving thing, the people from up north are all about Plymouth Rock and Mayflower and 1620 and all of that. And I really think it's because of their contempt for the fact that we descendants from Jamestown were here 13 years sooner. I think that's really what it is. Slant Daily Garage, Professor P, hello. Dean says, I'm thinking of a number. I am too. I don't have to do much thinking. 38 Ray says, don't take the coma. January and February are good times to spend inside a warm garage. I would agree. That would take a warm garage. I have propane in my garage, and it's expensive. I need to do some work in there badly. I do. I had a house that just insisted upon more work first. So that's what I did. Yes, Professor P's in the house. Good to see him. Mommy Z Garage, or Mommy's Garage, however she's got that. Howdy. Danny Boyd says, I'm all about green bean casserole. I'm not really a casserole guy. There's too many weird things can wind up in casseroles of various descriptions, but I do like green beans. Wrong English says he saw a beautiful 60s ranchero a bit ago. Evidence proved he had not enough heat. Okay. Nelson's doing a Nissan swap. I didn't know about the Nissan swap. We'll have to look into that. They've always got good stuff going on there. They've just crested over 100,000. I think those guys are just getting started. First Responder Garage, Damien. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining us. Big Mike says, ate too much pie yesterday. Back on track today. Cousin Cletus gained 3 pounds yesterday. Yeah, I'm within a 5-pound variance. I stay right in there, but I do keep track of it because when people quit keeping track of it, that's how it gets away from them. Engine Light Garage asks, anyone know of a good power add-on for 92 Dodge Dakota V6? So who deals with those? What is that? Is it a 3.0 like the IROC? Is that what you're talking about? Because most people that do anything with those are working with the 2.2 turbo 4-cylinder. But I know that we had one at the Auto Trade School that was a 3 liter in an IROC. And that was actually a school donated car with next to no miles on it. Aunt D lives in Massachusetts and says he's only seen the Plymouth Rock once when I was a kid. It wasn't impressive. Yeah, well, I mean, that's their thing. They ignore Jamestown. They do. And I think it's just that up north thing. But we got here before they did. My family's from there. First Responder Garage has gained 10 pounds, 3 turkey dinners at different locations in 3 days. Oh my gosh, I don't know how you sleep. Dizzy Izzy of the Geezer Garage. Boy, these handles is just, fortunately I recognize most everybody, but man, these handles, I don't know who thought that was a good idea. It was just a solution in search of a problem. Seems like they do all of this engineering and changing of the live streams for mega channels and not for any of us, like this leaderboard stuff and the handles. And nobody cares about any of that. We just want to have a good place to converse with our friends. And they do things that don't help. Danny Boyd has been afraid to step across the scale. The more often you weigh, the less afraid of it you'll be. I recommend weighing weekly. Turbo is the best power add-on. You know, I'd say probably a real good chance you're right about that. Most likely. Mohawk says so many people coming into the chat now. I'll just say hello to everyone again. The Left Turn Dodge. Hi, everyone. Fruit Fluff got me yesterday. Yesterday I ate some of that cranberry sauce. That's something I normally eat. It was okay. Put some on a biscuit. Charger 383 Mopar William. Hello, sir. That Charger 383 Mopar William. 38 Ray had Thanksgiving dinner with his dad at the nursing home yesterday. Didn't gain a thing. Did drive his V6 Corvair there. That sounds great, man. Glad you could have Thanksgiving dinner with him. Andrew says, we're going to change the turbo. Converter will tighten up on the track. The dyno test is on a 3,000-pound roller. Makes the converter look much more loose than it actually is on the track. Aunt D says, haven't been to Jamestown, but we've been to Roanoke several times. You've been to Roanoke, Virginia? Roanoke, Virginia is about 30 miles from here. Way far away from Jamestown. Big Mike says, just put on another round of venison jerky. It's yummy. And Dean Stevenson said, executive leaderboard sounds like a post-AT computer game. Yeah, YouTube has that leaderboard thing with the crowns and stuff, and who makes the most posts, and that X25, X75. I can't stand it. It's just clutter. That, live reactions, I always turn that stuff off before every live stream. I mean, I don't know anybody who wanted any of that. Engine Light Garage, I'm definitely thinking about doing turbo. Yeah, it ought to wake it up. Of course, I don't know what kind of compression or how suitable those are for it. I have no idea. Never worked on one. I worked on the car. Well, I can't say that because I did a trade school. And in fact, I don't know. It could have even been the same year as the one you have. I don't know. It was close. But I haven't done much on one. How's that? I can't meaningfully help you, not with that engine. Andy says Colleen's in the house. Asks she's holding down the fort in South Carolina. Yes, she's in charge of that state today. Danny Boyd says, shouldn't an executive washroom have desks in front of the toilets? Actually, on the Family Guy, you have executive bathroom island. That's how the executive bathroom should be. If you haven't seen that, check it out. I'm a fan of the musical scores that John Williams did for these movies, and that's a good one right there. Unfinished Project said, if I ever end up in a nursing home, I plan on escaping. That sounds like a good challenge for me, but he's probably going to have good health longer than I will, so I don't think I'll be able to do much with that. Andrew Nelson, serious question. When did Dodge Darts get so expensive? Couldn't tell you. I don't sit here and shop for them and look at them all the time. I just know I'm sure I could sell mine for 10 times what I paid for it. Engine Light Garage says the truck was only $200, so I'll try anything. Oh, you say truck. Are you talking about the Daytona Dakota thing? Are you talking about that weird deal? Is that what you're talking about? A Dakota or a Daytona? I thought you were talking about the little front-wheel drive 3-liter. One-Eyed Cat says venison season starts tomorrow. Wendy says the Hamburg is getting close to critical. I accept this mission. Okay. Dodge Dakota. Okay. I thought he had said Daytona. That's what I had read. Yeah, Dakota. I got to tell you, if you got a V6 in that's going to be a 3.9. It's basically just a 75% of a 318. You can just do standard stuff to it. But I got to tell you, probably your best bang for the buck with that truck is to pull that out and put a 318 or 360 in it, truthfully. You can probably do that cheaper and get more than you can really modifying anything in that. But those 3.9s are good engines. Danny Boyd says, I wouldn't fight the police if they were arresting me, but I might fight EMTs trying to drag me to the hospital against my will. Oh, my. First responder says 3.9s like turbos. They can take 10 PSI safely. Okay. He says that's what you need before you get into a Comedic gasket and ARP hardware. Yeah. Well, hey, if he does, I'd like to see it. Andy says depends on the Dodge Dart. There are 3 or 4 A bodies in under 5,000 around me on Marketplace. Yeah, but I mean, they used to be under 500 everywhere. I mean, it's gotten pretty crazy. Big Mike says he's processed about 160 pounds. I guess venison. Yeah. I'm not a hunter. Y'all can hunt. It's all fine. I'm not a hunter. Andrew says, is there an affordable Dodge rear-wheel drive 60s two-door that is lightish in weight? Well, you say a 60s. So here's a big one. On A bodies, the engine bay got 2 inches wider in 67. Of course, you like to do all that inline stuff, and I'm sure you won't do any traditional anything in there. So I don't guess it matters for y'all, but those earlier A bodies, usually a little bit cheaper, 66 and down. 60, what do we want? 63 to 66 are the small A bodies. The Plymouths, I think, usually 108-inch wheelbase. The Dodges are 111, typically. But obviously, Duster, Demon, all of that, your Darts. I mean, find you a 4-door Valiant like the ones that Buff and Kim are cutting up over there for El Camino thing. Something like that might be a good bang for your buck. Mexican Spec missed 13 minutes. Hey, we're just hanging out. You see it. One-Eyed Cat says rifle starts tomorrow. Didn't have time for the early season. I've got 9mm. That's my favorite element on the table, right? Aunt D says the simplicity and excellence of the Chrysler A-body is now becoming popular. Yeah, I knew this over 30 years ago. I'm glad other people are figuring that out. Left Turn Dodge says all darts are 50 years old now. None are cheap. Well, yeah, I mean, the newest dart is 49 years old, so that is correct. The Dodge Colt's 2,200 pounds. Well, he said 60s Mopar, and the Dodge Colt is a Mitsubishi. I don't even consider that a Mopar. That's just a Japanese car. Use whatever at that point. Same thing with that Dodge Challenger they had in the 80s. It was a Mitsubishi. I don't even think of Mopar when I think of that stuff. William says, I've been busy working on my lathe making a bushing remover installer tools for the 727 going to build for my Charger. Bushing remover and installer tool. Oh, you just making a drift. Yeah, you can make a good one like that. So I'll give you a hot tip, and I don't know if Coates in here or not, but something he showed me. Use one that's oversized to install your bushing flush first. That gets it good and straight and flush, and then use the driver that's a little bit smaller that will go inside the recess to drive the bushing the rest of the way, and that way you get it straighter. As opposed to using the smaller one to go all the way down, use a bigger one to get it flush first. Mexican Spec says, were there Dodge Colts of the 60s? No. Like that shirt. Yeah, I like it. It's a buddy of mine called these undercover gun shirts because most people won't know what they are. People will think you're just a fan of chemistry, especially when they don't know the periodic table. I mean, because I'm pretty sure lead isn't 115. Colts or Mopars? No. Japanese cars with Dodge emblems stuck on them. And I think the same thing of the D50, the Mitsubishi version of the Challenger, all that stuff. I mean, at least those like Avengers and stuff were Diamond Star motors. It's a Mopar or a Colt 45. All right, this is what William's working on. So he's making, I'll try to get this oriented so y'all can see it. He's working on some bushing drivers. Cool. 71 is close. I wish they had made an American-made version of that Colt. I always like the Chevy 2 and Vega. I like that size of car. It is smaller than the Dart. I always liked that size of car. Chrysler never made anything like that. Yeah, Andrew says Colt's a great. Yeah, why not? I think that might be good with you guys. Of course, finding one that's not rusted out and just gone now, that's the challenging part. You can find one from the 80s, but the 70s were so much cooler. Andrew says, I like 71 darts. Me too. I like the 71. Yeah, Ram 50 was a Datsubishi. It's a Mitsubishi. Those are, Aunt D says, started to get my Model A sedan ready to bring home, thinking about doing my 74 Valiant next. Okay. You put a D-stroke 360 with a turbo and 1200 is easy. Oh, it's easy. I'm sure it's not cheap. Unfinished Project had a 77 Colt. Always in the market for another if I find one in my price range. What is your price range, sir? Big Mike says, I actually found what I hope to be a useful tool set today at Harbor Freight. 10-piece ball joint install removal set for $49, normally $89. I figured I'll try for that price. Yeah, I think theirs actually is pretty good. It's the press for doing the Chevy style. The giant C-clamp. And those definitely make that job a lot easier. I mean, it's one of those things you don't have to use it, but man, it's better. I know people who do it with the weight of the vehicle and jacks and all that stuff. And I like using the big clamp. Mohawk says the Colt and Arrow were Chrysler versions of the Chevette and the Escort. Yes, but the Chevette and the Escort were made in America. There's a difference. Left Turn Dodge says there were 2 Colts for sale in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin on Marketplace. I always just wonder what's left of that stuff that's for sale in Wisconsin. Hazard Fraught, yes. And if you guys have not seen the Hazard Fraught parody sale paper, I bet I saw that thing 10, 15 years ago, and I couldn't stop laughing. Somebody did a masterpiece of a parody on the Harbor Freight sale paper called Hazard Fraught. First Responder Garage found a rolling chassis Colt, 8,000 in Georgia. Was looking at it, just needs engine and transmission. Mexican specs of the Colt and the Arrow were 70s cars. The Chevette was late 70s. The Escort was 1988 one. The Escort came out in, I believe, the 81 model year. Escort went to Arrow headlights for 85 and got a redesign for 88 or 89. I learned to drive on an 85.5 Escort, which was the last one to not have a high mount stoplight on the back. It did not have a third brake light. Also didn't have a side mirror on the passenger side. Manual steering, no air conditioning, manual transmission. Pretty Spartan. And man, that engine, golly, 148,000 miles. It had so much blow by it would hardly run. Just no power. And Dad went through a series of these junky parts store clutches in it that just wouldn't last. Yeah, 81. That's what I was thinking. They made a weird little diesel version of the Escort, too. I knew a guy that had one, claimed he got 50 miles a gallon with that thing. Aunt D says he has the Harbor Freight ball joint kit and it works well. The C-clamps, also the ideal tool for getting anchor pins out of semi-trailer brakes. Okay. 85.5, they went to composite lights. Okay, I mean, I was thinking 85, but it could have been the 85.5. I knew it was one of those two. The one I learned to drive on had the composite, had the acrylic lights. I thought that looked better on those cars. I don't usually like that better, but I did on those. The Mustangs did that for what? About the same time, right about the same. All right, I'm reading this because I saw Harry Callahan. So what does he say? Are not 3 Colts sold for $1? But verily I say to thee, it has Harry Callahan has 1 Colt 45. Some punk won't feel lucky. Well, Harry Callahan didn't carry the Colt 45. He carried Smith & Wesson Model 29 and 44 Magnum. So that a whole lot of old guys would have coffee table guns they could never carry just so they could say they have Dirty Harry's revolver. Dizzy says the right side crap is getting over to my left side now, and it sucks. Okay. Danny Boyd says, I drove all the time with no passenger side mirror in the 80s, but now I get panicked with that one. You know, that's one thing I've gotten used to. I wouldn't want to not have again. I have a lot of stuff that never had a passenger side mirror on on the, just to be able to use. But it's so handy, especially when you're backing up. I like it for that too. Of course, most people now, if you watch people drive, they don't look over their shoulder to change lanes. They just use their mirrors. And not for me. Ray says Escort four-wheel drive. Yes, they did exist. What years were those? Because I know they made a Tempo that had a center differential style four-wheel drive. They did make all-wheel drive Tempos, but I've never heard of that in an Escort. What year was that? Oh boy. Unfinished Project says free Duster in Pennsylvania. Andrew, if you're watching, that might be the deal for you, but that would be hard to get. You need to jump on it now. And even then, Danny Boyd says, I think my old 68 Cougar was my last car without a passenger side mirror. Well, I know that 85.5 Escort didn't have one. I think into the 90s, you could even get like a little Toyota Tercel that did not have a passenger side mirror. Dean says, I carry 29 Psalms. Okay. There's 149 more of those. Dizzy's Valiant has no door mirrors. He put one on the passenger side. Justin Hill says Idaho is here. Yeah, well, you're here before Barrows. So I guess you're representing Idaho for the moment. Come by yourself, still will be. Diesels too. Yeah, I know they had a diesel Escort. I've never seen one in four-wheel drive. I have seen the all-wheel drive Tempo though. Mohawk put a passenger side mirror on the Scamp. Helene says people in South Carolina don't know what a rear view mirror is. Mexican Spec says new cars have the passenger side mirrors. You can't see out of the back of them. I do not like driving something I can't see out of because it's got trendy little smushed down dark tinted glass. I do not like that. I just like a car with a lot of greenhouse, a lot of glass you can just see out of and drive safely. I prefer that. Make me old? I don't care. That's what I like. Dizzy says no backup lights. They have rubber stoppers in them. When did everything get backup lights? VW Beetle's got them in 67. I know that Dodge's got them, I believe 68 was pretty much, it was close to across the board on the Dodges, 68, somewhere right in there. Andrew says, I love Dusters, but it has to be a Dodge. Okay. So if it's not a Duster and it's a Dart Sport, well, if it's free, it might not have a tail panel or front end on it, and you can make that Duster a Dart Sport if you want to, or a Demon. Dennis Richardson, a.k.a. Twisted Dennis Run, says, Hummers were the hardest vehicle to see around I've ever driven. I've ridden in my uncle's before, and with his being open like it is, it's easy to see out of, but I've never driven one. But again, I would imagine, with the top on and all, I could certainly see that. Dizzy's saying no radio, horn ring, carpet, etc. Yeah, I liked it when cars were Spartan like that. They had everything you need and nothing you didn't. Mohawk says DOT federal law states if you have both outside mirrors in your vehicle, you do not need a rear view mirror. Well, yeah, there's a lot of stuff the rear view mirror is irrelevant anyway, especially trucks. But I like, lots of visibility and be able to see and drive safely. That's what I like. No lighter, rear armrests. Yeah. Of course, you could also have the lighter with the cigarette lighter with the ashtrays in the rear armrest. That's another option. Because we used to be a whole lot more of a smoking society than we are now, that's for sure. And that's a good thing. Big Mike says, my 72 Charger has both side mirrors and you can't see anything but the big butt of the car out of them. The rear view mirror is somewhat helpful. Yeah, it is a lot harder to see out of some of these cars. Dart's not bad. I think I like the visibility much better in the sedan style A bodies that were more popular up to 70. Then when the 71 models like the Demon and the Duster, the 70 Duster, 71 Demon, they went to that big Coke bottle fuselage stuff. A lot of people like that, and it's good looking. That's all. That's fine, but it's just harder to see out of. It's harder to see out of. It's superfluous extra weight. I just my Dart Sport has that, but truthfully, I like the sedan style Dart style body better. But that Duster style body did have a shorter wheelbase. The only one that was a sedan with that short wheelbase was the Valiant. They had the 108 also. Left Turn Dodge says, but the 72 Charger is still the coolest car on the planet. Hey, man, if that's your coolest car, rock on. It's a good one. I'd be making an offer on that 2-colt deal in Wisconsin if Wisconsin wasn't so far away. Well, yeah, if. If's an awfully big word. It might only have 2 letters, but it's a huge word. 38 Ray says, my Buick had at least 5 lighters and ashtrays. Gosh, no kidding. We've been binge watching a series here from the set in the 70s where everyone smokes. It is the most smoking series ever. It's just what people do. Thumper says, Ray's Buick had room for 12 people in the front seat. What kind of Buick was it? Was it like a big Electra or something? Finished Project says they're pretty solid. Mexican Spec says, maybe you can use the No Name Nationals transport company. Whoever is closest gets them and passes them to the next guy till they get to you. That winds up being a few people doing a whole lot and spending a whole lot. But that said, you can always try it, see what you can work out. Dizzy says he ordered a 4-speed 273, changed the intake to 4-barrel when new, have the original intake, raced every other weekend, almost never lost in its class. Okay. Big Mike says, I actually prefer the body style of the 3rd generation Chargers over the 2nd generation, but that's the awesome thing about cars. Everyone can like whatever they want. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad people like all different things. Yeah, man, that's the great thing about all the variety that we have in this community. I mean, what, Model A Ford, Catalina wagon, Valiant, S10 and 59 Chevy, 71 and 72 Charger, Mustang, mid-engine Metro. I mean, that's just who's on this, one section of comments, right? Mexican Spec said there's no beating the 1st generation Charger for the cool factor front, back, and dash. They're okay. They were just a little excessive to me, but they're okay. I just don't like all that stuff. It's to me that there's something really nice, clean simplicity I like. And those early Chargers just had a little too much going on. I actually think the 68s were much cleaner. And then they started going the other way again, and they started adding stuff for 69 and 70 and 71, and just piling more and more stuff on there. Thumper says, I'm collecting the scrap it comments on the wagon so I can feature them in a video when I'm driving it. Yeah, great. That sounds great. There's a lot of people who can't do what you're going to do, so they don't want to see you do it. Left Turn Dodge says he's with Big Mike. And Big Mike says that he prefers the body style of the 3rd gen Charger over the 2nd. Yeah, and nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing wrong with that. And I want to see some 3rd gen Chargers show up No Name Nationals. I like that idea. I wouldn't mind seeing all generations of Chargers there at the same time. Cousin Cleta says the Chevettes were pretty cool. I like the Chevette. I've always liked the Chevette. I think it's cool. Mohawk says my first car was a 64 Chevy 2 and had manual everything. Radio, delete, not even a day-night rear view mirror. I really like those. My favorite year for the Chevy 2 was 66. 66 or 7, either of those. I liked when they did that redesign on the grill. Those were really good-looking little cars. Again, they were smaller, a little cleaner. And then when they upsized it just a fuzz for, what was it, the 68 model year when they went to the full-size Nova. And so still okay. Those are good cars. I just liked the ones before that. Big Mike liked the dash illumination on the first. Yeah, see, to me, that was just a little too much. But hey, everybody can do what they want to do. Unfinished Project puts up the link. Here's the Colts in Wisconsin. So there you go. Mo Parquet says hello. Howdy. Thanks for joining us. Mexican Spec says, anybody that says to scrap a Chevy wagon is not a car person and must be ignored and felt sorry for. Well, there's also a lot of people who take those Chevy wagons and wad them up in demo derbies to this day. Kind of a shame, isn't it? Am I frozen again? I'm not frozen. I'm good. Don't have the heat on in here, though. I don't come in the studio that much. I do so much work from my phone or take the laptop in there. I just don't keep the heat. I'm going to have to start keeping the heat on in here, though. I only keep like one end of the house warm. Poor Man's Speed Shop asks how it's going. Hope you're doing well on a Friday night. Hey, I hope everyone here is doing okay. I hope everyone here had a good Thanksgiving too, by the way. Mo Parquet says, I want to race at No Name Nationals, and that's basically all I want to do, work on my car, drive my car, then race a little with all our friends just for fun. Well, you're going to have some time. You know about how much, so get things together, try to get ahead of getting things ready to pass tech, and come join the fun. Charger 383 Mopar Williams said, I know I'm biased, but I like the 68 Chargers too. Just a clean, good-looking car. I would love to have a 66, but I love my 68. I think the 68 is just impossible to beat. And understand, I'm a Dukes of Hazzard fan, but I still think the 68 is a better-looking car. I like the taillights and grill better. But again, there's nothing wrong with the 69 Charger or 70. But I thought the 68, that very first redesign on the Charger, was the pinnacle of all Chargers, just in my opinion. You know, we got, 40 people in here who can all have their own opinion. That's great. And I hope they all have different opinions. That's what gives us all that variety, you know. It's great. It's fun because we got a different expert in everything in this chat. I think it's great. Cousin Cletus wanted a Chevette so he can tell people he has a vet. I got to tell you, I would be more excited about having a Chevette than a Corvette. Because Chevettes, I love Chevettes. I just think they're cool. Corvettes are weird, man. It's like they abandoned all of the good, universal, simple muscle car type of stuff, you know, and put all this weird one-off stuff that was kind of like a knockoff of things they were doing in Europe, and I just never liked any of that. That stuff just all missed the mark to me. Matthew Ward, I believe that's 6th Street Garage, says, speaking of variety, does anyone here into import tuners? Asking for a friend. Yeah, I would say there's some import folks in here. Of course, my favorite import would be the air-cooled VWs. But I know that's probably not what you're asking for. Johnny C says, have a photo of my GPA standing next to his 66 Charger. Is it your grandpa? I was only 4 years old, loved the red interior. It's always great to have those kind of photos because, you know, before we had, these, we didn't take as many photos. They were all on Polaroid or Kodak 110 or something like that. And we're very fortunate to have any of that stuff. I was just talking about how there's hardly any photos of me from before 2007. That's when I got a camera with a phone. And there's so many things I know I did, things I know I have seen photos of that were just, wicker baskets and, in the living room and stuff. And they just kind of gone. I mean, I have a baby book for my first car. I've got a picture of me somewhere torquing the main caps on the first engine I ever built. My mom took the picture of me. I just looked up and she just took a picture of me. It was on a one of those Kodaks, the 110 you sent off to get developed. I'd love to find that picture. I'd put it on my community tab if I could find it, but I don't know where it is. But it's better now. We tend to do better at keeping our photos than we used to. Yeah, first responders saying best thing about a Chevette is that you can say you drive a Vet. I guess. I don't care. I like them both. I have driven more Corvettes than Chevettes, though, I can say. Andrew Nelson says, we have 4 cars that make 1,000 horsepower. I daily drive a Cobalt with a manual transmission, manual windows, manual locks, no cruise, 4-banger Econo box. Yeah, it's great. Dizzy says, my friend bought a 77 Chevette new and said it would do a 90-degree turn at 50. We tested that and did it. I can see that. Aunt D says, my big issue is I end up falling in love with almost every type of vehicle I work on. Was very tempted to buy a 4-door 62 Tempest not long ago after working on a 62 Tempest convertible for a while. Yeah. Andrew Nelson says 68 Charger's the best. I'm with you on that one. Hard to go wrong with a Charger. I'll put that out there, but the 68 is my favorite. Johnny C said, my family had a lime green 76 Chevette 2-door. Cute little car. Was easy to spot in the parking lot. By the way, for whatever it's worth, there were more General Lees that were 68 Chargers than 69s, ironically. They used the 69 for their first car, their Pilot, and the first 5 or 6 cars they built in Georgia. And then toward the end of the run, the 69s were harder to find. They were using more 68s and saving the centerpieces out of the grills and the taillights. So more General Lees wound up being 68s than 69s. And if you want to hear more about the construction of the General Lees, you can find a live stream I did on this channel a while back with Tom Sarmento. We'd like to have him back on. I talked to him not long ago, so we can have him back on there to talk General Lee Tech because he helped build those cars for the show. Big Mike said, I don't dislike any of the Chargers other than the 80s. I don't dislike those, but when we say Charger, no one thinks of that. Cousin Cletus wants to LS swap a Chevette. If I was going to do some kind of swap on a Chevette, an LS makes sense in a Chevette. It really does because it's Chevy. It probably is the better swap to do. Of course, I would just want to draw the hate of doing a 318. But an LS and a Chevette would be a pretty mean swap. Has anybody here seen the big block Chevette that runs around? Somebody showed it at a car show. The thing looks stock with a flat hood and has a big block in it. Big block. It's not tubbed. It has stock with the rear wheels and everything. And it's a big block crammed down in a Chevette. Mo Parquet says 68 is my favorite year for Plymouth and Dodge. Yeah, I can see that. 68. One thing that's neat about 68 is my favorite thing is they all had the round marker lights on all of them because it was kind of an afterthought in the engineering. So they stuck the same one on all of them. And another thing I like about 68s, and this is both the Coronet and the Satellite, the Dart was pretty much this way. They just used a stamped grill on everything. And then they fancied all of them up for the 69 model year. I kind of like the 68s. They were a little simpler, a little more one-off, had the round marker lights. Yeah, 68 was just a good year across the board for Chrysler everything. Dean says, I'm not really good with the Smith & Wesson Model 29 and Colt 45 and SOM interchanges, but I can improve. JP7YZ, don't know what that channel name is because it's got a universal handle, but welcome. Says, my first car was an 80 Chevette 4-speed 2-door. Was white, and I put a huge Playboy bunny on the back window. Windows were all tinted with chrome caps on it. Yeah, it was cool. So I went to high school with a guy, and if sometimes some folks I went to high school with are in the chat, they'll remember this. My buddy Matt, who was in my graduating class, had a white 86 Chevette, 2-door, 4-speed, and we found out all of the performance limitations of the Chevette with that car. It was a hoot. We all remember him for his Chevette. Cleta says, Matthew, we are car guys. Even if we don't like a certain style, we can appreciate the work. Unless the squatted truck, no real car enthusiast likes them. Yeah, squatted trucks are just yuck. I just don't consider them that culturally significant to anything. They are a fad that just needs to go away. Buick Smith says, hello, everyone. Just popping in to say hi. Well, hello, Buick Smith. Glad you're here. We hope you can make it out to Sykeston in 2026. Hot Rod Guy Garage says, kids today will never know the fun of disposable cameras or film and taking them to get developed, or taking your buddy's disposable camera when he's not looking and taking a picture of something he really doesn't want to see and then leaving it for him to get developed. Can't do all that anyway. It's stuff you can't do today. Yeah, exactly. Mo Parquet found some videos, 12 years old, on YouTube, and baby pictures in books. Yeah, see, there's no pictures. I was talking about, I don't have any digital pictures of me back there. When I was doing, when I was looking for these for my late mother here, a lot of them just had to be scanned because they weren't digital. But it's all going to depend on our age, what we have and when we have it. Some of the folks in here are youngsters, like Poor Man Speed Shop, Austin. You're in your 20s, right? So you're going to have most of your stuff is going to be digital, right? Whereas Dizzy here, he's in his 60s, not so much. Poor Man Speed Shop says, I never thought I'd have a Charger. Then a lady ran a stop sign and hit me in my Corvette, and I was able to get my 74 Dodge Rally. It's my 69 Charger. I'll never be able to get a 69. Well, never say never, but that 74 is pretty cool. I've seen it. And I like those. I think those are good. Those are the kind of value muscle cars that are going to be worth a lot of money. And I like those 74. The 74 Charger, the creepiest 74 Charger is that one from Wheels of Terror. And I know you've seen that movie if you have a 74 Charger. That's a creepy made-for-TV movie. And I'm sure you can watch the whole thing free on YouTube. Andrew Nelson had 6 Chevettes, tough little cars. Yes, they were. I really liked that they were rear-wheel drive and American-made and all of that. I just think they were worthy little, performance cars too. You don't see many people build them, but they're neat. Mean Street Mopar says, what's up, everyone? Hello, glad you made it. Aunt D says, would love to have a Generation 7 Toyota Celica for a daily or a project. Granted, most of my dailies are also projects. I don't own anything that's not eligible for antique tags. I don't own anything with a screen in the dash or anything like that. I have a few things with OBD2, and that's it. First Responder Garage says, maybe first start with the new build soon. I'm getting close. Going to be building a tune for it tomorrow or Sunday. Right on. Thumper says, I know a guy who swapped a 430 Buick with stage 1 heads and a Vega camback. Unfinished Project said Dylan McCool is selling an 83 Charger Shelby for $800. They're on Facebook. So if you guys are interested in that, go for it. First Responder said there's an original General Lee from the series signed by the cast, 20 minutes for here. He has a 400 for sale also. Which number car is it? Because I'm thinking only Lee 1 is the only one from the Georgia filming, I think, that still exists. There was a 6th one made that wasn't used that's in a museum. So you could argue 1 or 2 from that first run still exist. The rest are all California cars. Of course, in this day and time, a California car could very easily be there in Georgia. Big Mike said, I wonder if I can make a 440 fit in the Chevette. I'm sure you can, Mike. Dynamite, chainsaws, and whatever else. Big Mike uses everything. Left Turn Dodge likes the 80 Chargers better than the 05 and newer. I would agree with that. I can go with that. I can certainly go with that. Mexican spec has to find about the only exception to the rule. The 68 Imperial had a square marker light in the front, not the round one. Andrew Nelson says, we want to do a 2.8 Atlas in a Chevette. I can see y'all doing that. Buick Smith says there's a guy in Canada that has a supercharged 3800 series in a Chevette, and I believe he's building an LS-powered all-wheel drive Chevette next. Oh, okay. Ron English says Chevette is a smaller body than an A-body Plymouth. Yes, it is. Considerably smaller. I like cars that size. Dizzy says, it tows my car and gets 21 miles per gallon. Love it. Okay. Austin's 26. Okay. That's about right. So you're born in what, 99? Missed a lot of cool stuff, man. What can I say? Charger 383 Mopar says, I love taking my film cameras to No Name Nationals. Yes. I love those pictures. Love the black and white stuff William does. Very cool. Greg McDonald has family over for Thanksgiving weekend, celebrating it today. Just wanted to stop and say hi and hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving. Well, thank you for coming by. We appreciate you. Poor Man Speed Shop says, what got me to the third generation Chargers with the TV show Burn Notice. Okay. Mo Parquet asks, have I ever owned a Duster? Yes. I parted out an extremely rusty 72 Duster in 1994. Is it one that we would save today? Yeah, it's one we'd save today, but it was not one we would save in 1994. It was rotten as could be. And you know the old thing, how the Indian used every part of the buffalo and the deer? Well, we did with this one. The only car I have ever parted out, 72 Duster. And so, but now I have a 73 Dart Sport, which is a Duster with a Dodge front clip and taillight panel. Even has the Plymouth rear wheel openings. They didn't even give it its own wheel opening like Dodge did for everything else, or its own wheelbase like Dodge did for everything else. Dodge usually put an inch or two more in the wheelbase of all their versions of the cars. So a Dart Sport is much closer to a Plymouth Duster probably than any of their other counterparts. Andy says our newest car is a 2016 Fiesta. It's been sitting in the garage for almost a month. Nothing wrong with it. We're just driving the old stuff. Yeah. Here's a worthy question. Mo Parquet wants to know, what's everyone drive daily? Well, I drive the 2002 CRV and an 85 Dodge B150. Those are my dailies. How about y'all? Mexican Spec says his newest is a 2000 Durango. It tows when I need him to. And D's got a 1980 F100. The wife Daly's a 74 F100. Where's Tanner when you need him? Everything he owns is older than he is. Austin says 98. Okay. 98. That was my college class year, but I didn't quite make it. Dropped out a while and came back. Dean says you're supposed to put an 8.2 Cadillac in a Chevette. Yeah, the Hot Rod Magazine guys put a 500-inch Cadillac in a Chevette, and they used F-150 leaf springs for trailing arms and cut the whole firewall out of it. And it was all flimsy, and it's a crazy old build, but it was quick for what it was. Danny Boyd says, I've only ever owned 3 OBD2 cars. Yeah, about the same for me. Andrew Nelson says, can a 67 four-door Dart be converted to a two-door? Not really. No, the roof line is different. The windshield and back glass are different angles. But I got to tell you, man, 4 doors are cool. Why are you even converting them? What are we doing that for? 4 doors cooler anyway. I'd go with it. And UTG took a 4-door, what is that thing, slag hammer, a Valiant, and he 3D printed some body stuff with welding and turned it into a 2-door or something like that. But the Darts do have a different windshield, different roof line. I think the Valiants might be the same. You might be able to do something like that on a Valiant, but not on a Dart. They definitely were different. Mexican spec. Yeah, why would you want to? Well, if he wants to, he wants to. But I hope he doesn't do it because he thinks other people think it's cool. I think it's cool with 4 doors. Unfinished Projects Daily is an 84 W350 and a 74 Swinger. Yes. Bigfoots and Mopars drives a 2015 Ram 2500. Cletus drives his Tesla Daily. One Odd Cat says an 05 Ford Freestyle. Someday it will die. Until then, well, it might die in the burnout pit if your brother gets a hold of it. 2012 Jeep Compass is Left Turn Dodge's Daily. Johnny C says a 2000 Camry or 2005 Mustang GT. Rarely my 67. Well, if it's rarely, it's not your daily. So his dailies are 2000 Camry and 2005 Mustang GT. If I opened it up to rarely, I could consider other stuff my daily. Big Mike's daily is a 2012 Ford F350 with a 6.7 turbo diesel. There's a 67 4-door Dart near him. It's in our price range. Cool cars, man. There's not a thing in the world wrong with a 67 4-door Dart. Nothing. Buick Smith says supper time. I'm out. Have a great week. Mean Street Mopars Daily is a clapped out 99 Dodge Ram 1500 with a 318 and automatic. Excellent. Mexican Spec is asking Johnny C what color that 05 GT is, but I believe unless I'm mistaken, you can see in the picture, is it black or dark blue? Something like that. Danny Boy drives a 97 Corolla Daily. His 05 Mustang on nice days. His 77 F-150s. He drives all of his stuff. Thumper's Daily is a Calico Silverado. Dizzy's Daily is a 2013 Avenger and 2017 Ram. Ron English drives an 08 white 4-door Malibu, 94,000 miles, never driven in the snow. What do you ride in the snow, Ron? You're about to get enough of it where you live. Mexican Spec says keep it a sleeper. I'm telling you what, I can tell you I would absolutely be just as excited, if not more, to see them do a 4-door Dart than a 2-door. That's just me. And so obviously people agree on some things, disagree on others. This is one thing where I do agree with Tony DeFeo. 4-doors are just as cool. They even have, in a way, more cool because they got rear door handles and more trim and just more stuff to them. They're just kind of cool. I like them. I would not have said that about 20 years ago. Poor Man Speed Shop says, my 73 Dart Sport was my first Mopar. I got it in high school and been building it for years, getting it ready to start the body work. Cool, man. So we both have a 73 Dart Sport. Mohawk's Daily is a 2010 VW convertible hardtop. EOS. What is that? What is EOS? Convertible hardtop. Mopar K drives an 05 Toyota Avalon. Okay. Unfinished Project doesn't have a 78 D100, but I'll take one. Andrew says, nope, has to be a Dodge 2-door. Find your Colt. Go with the Colt. Mexican Spec. Then what truck did you buy the turn signals for? Who knows? He might be recessing them into something else. Dean Stevenson says, every day at work I get a chance to drive everything from a transit van to a MAN. You get a chance to drive a MAN? Is that what you're telling us? Or a Scania Juggernaut, whatever that is. Hey, who in the chat here remembers that channel Juggernaut, whatever? They had an E-body. I think it was a Challenger or Cuda. I don't remember which, but it had a Mustang front end in it. a modern Mustang front end. Like they took a Fox Mustang and cut the whole front end, shock towers and everything, and stuck into this CUDA. Channel was like juggernaut. I was looking for it, couldn't find it. They were talking about doing some No Name National stuff and didn't happen. They were pretty far away on subs, but I would love to have seen that come to fruition. 74 Swinger's a great car. I would agree with that. That's about as good a daily as you're going to get. Andrew Nelson says, how many miles does everyone have on their daily? 219,000. We run them to 300. I'm at almost 375 with the CRV. It's about 374 and 8, 374 9, somewhere right in there. Reminder from Blake at Bad Tree Productions that 10% off 904 parts at Cope Racing Transmissions for Black Fridays. Heathen Assembles. Yes, indeed. Cope reminds us that it's 10% off at CRT's Black Friday sale. Dust Devil Garage says 2016 Colorado I got for $1,500. Score. That's interesting. Aunt D says there was a time when my only reliable daily was my 31 Model A sedan. This was in the early 2000s. Okay, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to check on Jeffro real quick. I will be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. I will see you guys here again in a minute. So this is not a glitch. Don't get in the chat. We lost audio. We lost video. No, I'll be back in just a minute here. All right, I'm back. I said I was going to turn his heater off at 9, so I did. Four-Man Speed Shop said, I'm getting ready to part out a 64 Dart four-door so I can save my 63 Plymouth Valiant 200. Thumper asks if CRT is can't remember things, cathode ray tube, or something else. It could be critical race theory, Cope Racing Transmissions. I don't know. It is. This is the forerunner of CRT. This is what he used to make that ad. Actually, it's kind of funny. I keep it right here on my desk. I'm going to frame that in with something for the studio here, but I haven't done it yet. Unfinished project. Bought the turn signal lenses for a grill I plan on putting in the 84 W350. Sounds like he's going to do the front end to try to make a 10 grill looking vehicle out of it. Bigfoot Mark is lurking. The One-Eyed Cat says, I like my four doors. I do too. Turbo Tom says that Ohio is expecting 3 to 5 inches of snow tomorrow. Yuck. Better you than me. You can have that. Dizzy says the PT Cruiser Crossfire converted to rear-wheel drive would be a fantastic drag car. Those are kind of neat. Mexican Spec says I have 121,000 kilometers of my 2000 Durango, whatever that equates to. Danny Boy says 333,600 something. Who has more miles on their daily, everyday driver daily than what I do? Who's got more than 375,000 on the vehicle they drive every single day? Big Mike's got 249 on the F350. Oh, yeah. Jethro ate the camera. No, I just wanted to cut his heater off at 9. So it didn't get too warm for him. So that's why I was watching my time. Andrew Nelson says, anyone late to the chat? We're looking for a late 60s, early 70s Dodge two-wheel drive, two-door rear-wheel drive that's not high dollar. The darts in our area are too expensive today. Well, just have to dig around. Poor Man Speed Shop is out. Have a good evening. Thumper says, I only got about 8 inches of snow. Some blizzard. Don't even need to crank up the snow blower for that. I don't do anything for 8 inches of snow. I just drive through it. I don't shovel the driveway or anything. I just drive. I mean, that's what four-wheel drive is for, right? I don't even shovel the driveway. I got a covered porch. I park right by it. Danny Boyd says, I don't like the extended cab pickups either. Only cool four-door pickups are the classic crew cabs. I like extended cab pickup trucks. The modern ones are okay, but the four-door classic pickups, those are really cool. Hot Rod Guy Garage Russell says, the Crossfire is a reskinned Mercedes SLK. Yeah, that's, again, more reason to never want to own one right there. One Cat says I'm only around 140,000. Yeah, that CRV had 160 on it when I got it 9 years ago. It has been fantastic. I've never put an alternator on it. It's been really super good. I've never put a front end part on it. I mean, I have the maintenance log on it. Pretty amazing, actually, how little's been done to it. Thumper says, when it's about 4 feet in the evening, I crank up the snow blower. You have 4 feet in the evening, I'd be worried about roofs. Racer likes the extended cab S10 like the trash truck. I need the legroom. I need the legroom on anything I drive. I got long legs, a lot longer than you think for my height. I get in vehicles that 6 foot tall people drive and have to get the seat back because my legs are killing me. Aunt D said, highest mileage I ever put on a vehicle is my Tacoma. Had 245,000 when the frame rotted out. Yeah, I hear that. Unfinished Project says all of my vehicles are low mileage. None are over 99,999. Well, yeah, I guess so if you have those odometers. Bigfoot Mark says the single cab 8-foot bed on my daily is perfect. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I'm good with that. Full-size trucks are too big to me. I don't like those big cavernous where you can't reach anything. I like stuff the size of the CRV. I can reach right over and unlock the passenger door. You can't do that in a full-size anything. Thumper says steel roof, it slides off when it gets heavy enough. If it has enough pitch. Indecisive Garage says this snow fell yesterday where he is. Ouch. 10 inches of snow. Ooh. No snow here. It is cold enough, though. What is the temperature here right now? 23 here right now. It's not warm out there. Mexican Spec says, see if it's under warranty for the frame. Toyota might replace it. I'd be shocked. Too cold to snow here. Ugh, beat you to ice up. I don't want it to snow. Danny Boyd says, sometimes I wonder if my 49-year-old truck is under 100,000, but it just can't be. Maybe a few of the parts on it. People don't really believe that my dad's Jeep is low mileage, as rough as it is, but it really is. It was a shore patrol vehicle, and it had a lot of rust on it with 23,000 documented miles. We have the mileage log for the maintenance log from the motor pool where the thing was where it belonged to the Navy, and 23,000. It had rust holes in the frame where it was driven on the beach because it was an 80 model. He got it in 93, so it was 13 years old then. And he washed seashells and sand, all kinds of it out from under that thing. So it had a huge head start on the rust. Dougster said, an 09 Dakota that was a wide load escort vehicle with 490 on it. Ran beautifully, but the frame was unsafe. Okay. Now, I guess nobody in here has a daily with 375 or more on it. Unfinished projects, hoping for no snow this year. It makes my job twice as hard. I just don't care for the snow. It's just rough on everything. 38 Ray said it's going to be cold this weekend, and after Thanksgiving, that means it's cookie time. Mexican Spec said they will recall, and Toyota replaced a lot of them. I guess it just depends what year and all that. Number says 19 there. Yes, 23 here. Jason's Garage, howdy. Thanks for coming by. As you see here, it says, I'm an RV technician. What's your superpower? If by technician you mean cut one up for the engine and throw the rest away, I see a lot of guys have that superpower, but you can actually fix them. Mohawk said there's a 74 Scamp asking 2,800. Doesn't look too bad. Says it needs carb work just west of Nashville. Well, again, Andrew's looking for a two-door Dodge and cheap. Dougster says all my fleet have 200,000. And Junkyard D says my back already hates me. Pretty fortunate on the back. This left knee is still not good. It's better than it was, a lot better than it was in Sykeston, but it is not a fan of the cold. And D says, I tried. Toyota undercoated when the issue first came out. Yeah, like that was going to fix anything. They extended the frame warranty, but it's out of the extended. Yeah, I didn't figure. Left Turn Dodge says, seems Toyotas with rotten frames are common. Now, I didn't hear that particular thing, but. And Mexican Spec says now the engines fail for no reason. Well, there's a reason. Maybe we don't know what it is, but there's a reason, all right. Bigfoot Mark says I used to drive a 76 Trans Am in whiteout ground blizzards in South Dakota when I was 16. Not what I would choose to drive in a blizzard like that, but I ordered them and they're here and they're sitting in the back seat. I got a set of rear wheel speed sensors for the CRV, and I need to wait for a half decent day that I'm not freezing to put them on. It won't take me long to put them on. Just got to do it. I need to put a tire on the back too, so I probably should do those two things together so I'm good and ready for the snow. Cletus says, I was outside working in a t-shirt today. Weather's supposed to get cold tomorrow, though. Oh, yeah, it's cold here now. Colder tomorrow. Dougster says he has back problems and a genetic thing from his mom's side. I see my chiropractor once a month and life is good. I've always been fortunate to have a good back. But there's usually a weak link in the chain for everybody somewhere. Is he supposed to get some snow? Yeah, I don't see any snow in the forecast. I see a little bit of rain on Tuesday, but it's going to be too warm. So here, it's just not getting a whole lot. Sunday will be better. It'll be 48 and 41 Monday. Sunday's going to be a little better, but there's no good weather. It's pretty much all just going to not be fun from here till April. That's pretty much it. Thumper says, when I lived in Nebraska, I drove my old stuff all year. Up here, there's too much salt. Everything turns gray in 5 miles. Yeah. Mexican Spec just likes to rub it in. We're supposed to get all the way down to 64 tonight. Aunt D says he tried to buy a frame, but they wouldn't sell one. It's on their back burner now. Kind of want to either mini truck it or put the drivetrain in a Model A. Oh, gosh. Wow. Mexican Spec says with all the sales tax and registration fees, it's easier to fix the car or truck you have. Well, not to mention, that screen takes a dump in anything. That's $1,000 right there. I mean, all this modern stuff is terrible. Terribly expensive. Big Mike says, cold and rainy here tomorrow. I was splitting wood in a t-shirt today. Definitely warmer where you and Cletus are than here. Racer Ray said, I used to drive the 59s all season. I remember buying snow tires for it, but not anymore. Yeah. Finished project said snow tires on the Valkyrie. Oh, my. You people. Yeah, I want to put up some exterior lights and just haven't done it and kind of missed my window. I got down to where I had to choose between doing a set of tires or doing lights. I chose to do the tires because I figured which one of those jobs is going to be worse to do if it's cold. And I said the tires will be. So now I got to do the lights in the cold. But that's okay. Dougster's saying in Michigan, put it away by Halloween if you care about it. And bring it out in April after the big rains wash the roads, right? Mexican Spec says tomorrow on his live he's going to tell the story of a lady who bought a new MG here in 2023. A new MG in 2023? Okay, well, check that out if you guys are interested. You remember buying snow tires for 59? You've been driving when was the first year you had a 59, Ray? Because I went to college with a guy, a teenager. His name was Calvin. And he drove a 59. It was black and white. MGs are a Chinese car now? Yuck. Do they have Chinese cars in Mexico? I'm glad we don't yet have them here. They're coming. Aunt D says, I deal with CAN bus and multiple modules at work. I don't want 5 modules to talk to each other. I just want to roll down my windows. Exactly. Oh, that CRV needs a new switch for the driver's side because I can tell by the combination of problems that it's the switch on the door. We got an all Honda junkyard just south of here, about an hour south of here. I bet they have one, but I gotta get with them to get it. They made a few different models of it. Racer Ray said, I owned this one in 1980. It was a few years before I drove it. Right on, but you've driven it all the way to Sikeston, Missouri a few times. Hot Rod Guy Garage says, it was today years ago learning MG still exists. I figured the Lucas wiring smoke all got depleted by now. Well, I can tell you, saying that MG still exists if it's a Chinese company is like saying Winchester still exists when it's, I don't know, it's some Asian facsimile of its former self. The Winchesters I have are New Haven, Connecticut, and they're the real deal. And all this modern stuff is not the same. As far as I'm concerned, it just doesn't exist anymore. Something else called Winchester. So to me, that would just be something else called MG. An all Honda junkyard, cars and trucks, motorcycle too? Well, first of all, what trucks? Talking about a Ridgeline? I don't even consider that a truck. But I don't know anything about the motorcycles. I just know that they have a lot of, Civic Accord CRV stuff there, and I bought some parts there before. Good to work with. I need to get some more stuff from them. One nice thing where they're all Honda, they have organized bins up front in the office where you can just buy the handful, get those plastic fasteners that snap in, any style you need. It's really nice because they're a one-make junkyard. Thumper says, well, I have a fondness for Italian shotguns and has a Turkish shotgun that is fun. Beretta has been around since 1526. They have their 500th anniversary next year. Is that wild or what? They made cannons before they made firearms. Kerosene Cucumber says they sell electric Chinese vehicles here. Polestar. Now, where is here? Are you talking just the American market? Seems like I've heard of that now that you say that. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with it. Aunt D said, I think Honda made a K truck. Yeah, probably. Unfinished Project said Ridge Lines are half-ton pickups rated to tow and haul. Yeah, I know. They're not a real pickup to me. I know what you're saying, but not for me, man. Dougster says, I've been looking at a first-generation Goldwing. I want a 75. Indirect Connection Jason is here. Hello. Glad you could join us. Mexican Spec says they have a small electric car, about 20,000 in Mexico. Yeah, we'll get flooded with their disposable garbage cars here in the future with a totally unserviceable, throw away, get a few years out of them, and junk them. I mean, just car culture in the toilet for that generation that just knows of cars as disposable as lighters. And I really lament seeing that, but that's the way it's going to go because we can't afford anything with all the money, the value taken out of our money. We've become classless in our buildings, our dress, our everything, our cars, and I hate watching the cars just continue to find ways to go down in class, and they will. But anyway. Mexican Spec says, when the Mexican mechanics try to talk to Chinese techs, there's a language gap. It's not a good situation. The Chinese techs sounds kind of funny in and of itself. I want to know who writes the instructions that come with their stuff. Dougster thinks that the first generation Ridgeline is a decent looking truck. The second generation looks like a minivan. The last second they made a truck out of. Okay. I'm glad we all like different stuff. Mohawk says there's a 63 Valiant two-door slant 6.3 on the Tree Marketplace, 1,000 in Chattanooga. He just said it has to be a Dodge. He just said that. Unfinished Project said, although that said, that does look like a pretty cool deal. So, Unfinished Project said, you'd be surprised at how much the Caravan can haul. Oh, yeah. I don't think I would be surprised. That's what Buff and Kim should have made their El Camino thing out of, is out of a Caravan. Aunt D says, I'll stay environmentally friendly and keep my old iron running. I don't like disposable washers, ovens, fridges, or cars. Yes to that. Yes to all of that. Indirect Connection says the Ridgeline is an Odyssey minivan rebodied. Okay. Yeah, people don't talk about how environmentally friendly it is to not have to manufacture another car. Johnny C says 3 on the Tree is so cool. Yes, it is. I would agree with that. I don't own anything 3 on the column, but I think they're cool. Actually, I take that back. I have 1 3 on the column. Thumper says, Reuse, repurpose, rebuild, repair. Way better than buying a new one. I would agree with that. Unless it's a toothbrush. I would also agree with that. Even then, I always repurpose toothbrushes, like cleaning brushes and stuff like that. I mean, but that goes one way, right? They never get repurposed into teeth brushes. Peckerwood Custom says, mine's down under my rear deck waiting for some love. Yeah. Indirect Connection says his wife's Town and Country holds 13 small bales of hay with Kevin's seats still up off the floor. Out of the floor. It will be 17 with all seats in the floor. I forget, yours has the seats that fold down into the floor. Yeah, exactly. Racer Ray says, I still use a Maytag dryer that was built the same year as my car. Still can't get parts the last time I needed anything. Yes. Yes. I like old appliances too. I have a 52 GE refrigerator. Runs like a champ. My 2005 KitchenAid refrigerator is being a pain. I cannot get it to function right. I do not know what's wrong with it. I had the circuit board serviced and came back and isn't right still. I don't know what's wrong with it. I'm thinking they didn't get my board fixed. But I'm getting pretty proficient at how to get to it now. So I've had that cover off twice. Doesn't take much. Mexican Spec says, I'm hearing the wiring used in those cars are very thin, so they don't last long. The buyer's paying $8,000 a month for it. It's been in the shop for 6 months. What in the world? What's $8,000 a month? Jason's Garage says, my Caravan is a great work van. They are good. I like the older ones better, but they're good vans. Aaron says, we sell Maytag parts here. Still, a lot of the laundromats use them exclusively. Yeah, Speed Queen is the preferred brand of every laundromat I've seen around here. I thought about making a laundromat here not too long ago. I was looking at a property, and I thought, man, that would be perfect for a laundromat in the left half and a shop space in the right. Just couldn't do it. He had the, 8,000 pesos a month. Okay, now we're talking. But he has the dollar sign in front of the 8. Anyway, I thought about it, and I just, the price was pretty good, but he was kind of cantankerous. And if it were a couple blocks out of the area it was in, I think I'd have done it. But, oh well. Unfinished Project says, we're in the market for a chamber stove, the kind with a deep well pot. I don't even know what that is, but for those in the chat who know, maybe you can help him out. Dougster says, my GR stove my parents bought new in 95. 30 years later, it's not at my house. It still looks almost new. Okay. GE. Okay, that makes more sense. It's a peso sign here. What displays is a dollar sign on the screen. There's a house that was for sale here many, many years ago, about 20 years ago now. And it's up on top of a ridge about 10 miles from here that I was told belonged to an executive at GE, because in the 60s, early 60s when this was built, it has all these real futuristic appliances in it, like a built-in oven and an island with a range hood and all that were and refrigerator were all real futuristic for the time, and were still in it when it was listed. Thought that was pretty cool. Andrew says, the price of the modern Dodge Challengers have come way down. I wonder how light they can be made. There you go. Just do that. I'm sure they could be made light enough if you want to do enough to them. You might be the guy to find that out. 38 Ray says he rented a place that had one of those. Very interesting till I figured it out. Danny Boyd is saying, do you see many failures of the alarm buzzers in Maytag dryers? Whole saw was your friend? Okay. I need to figure out what's wrong with this refrigerator. I pulled the board out and had it sent off and just got it sent back to me, and it behaves exactly the same. I don't know what he did to it, if anything, but it just doesn't function right. And I'm thinking it's that board still. Aunt D says our oven is built into the wall and is Harvest Gold. Our stovetop is also from the 70s. Yeah, that stuff's coming back. There's a lot of young people that like it. They call it mid-century modern when young people are into stuff from the 50s. Mid-century modern. Or as my mom called it, just, junk that needs to be remodeled. She didn't care a thing in the world for it. But young people now are digging it. Aunt D, what is the refrigerator doing? It'll try to start and stop and won't display, and sometimes the freezer light works. It's got all this really random stuff that is acting just like the board has failed. But I sent it off to have it rebuilt. I had it sent back to me. It's not, it acted a little different, but it's not fixed the problem. I think it's the circuit board. So, not running, no need to catch it. I couldn't catch it. As heavy as it is, I still couldn't catch it. The thing is not light. I remember getting it in here. It was no fun bringing in. Can't believe it's 20 years ago I bought that thing. Get rid of it and get a good one off Marketplace. I'm almost deterred from doing that just because of the weight of it. But it is a really nice refrigerator. Double door stainless and all of that. I might do it. Kind of on a quest now. I want to make this one work. Always the grounds. Yeah, I cleaned the grounds. It's got a few grounds that just have a little self-tapper that run into the frame. Yep. Always, yep. I checked and cleaned those grounds. But the problems are just so weird and random. It just seems like a board. Get a Mexican when they always work. Yeah, I don't know. This one worked good for a lot of years. Check the power support board. I did. I did. That I did. And it's the same as a Whirlpool. That one is. Dancing Alone with Rentals hooked us up with an awesome vintage refrigerator. That's cool. Yeah, my 52 GE runs like a champ. It's my 2005 KitchenAid that does not. US 191, the shortest comment I've ever seen here. What about your Roadrunner? Yeah, what about it? Got too many things. I got too much real estate junk I get it squared away to work on anything. I got a property I'd like to sell. I get it sold, that would change a lot of things. Mid-century modern. We're talking about the 50s, like from World War II, 50s, and then the 50s. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, I don't know. That old outdated stuff. The bigger thing is it just was dark. They like dark paneling, dark carpet, dark everything. And one thing is just one of the dumbest things I never liked about houses from the 50s and 60s and 70s was this ridiculous notion that you didn't need lights in the living room. They would have switched outlets for lamps. I hate that. I like to have lights you switch on in every room that come on from the ceiling and light the room up. And that has always bugged me about houses that are that vintage. No, I don't do that, Chumley. I don't. I might, but I mean, I just got too many things to take care of. Yeah. Come up here sometime. We'll go. If you haven't seen the 3 shorts I put out, a walk through the Mopar woods, that's around here too. Lamps were furniture to show off. Yeah, people were into lamps back then, but your room was just dark. I'm so adverse to having just dark like that. I carry a flashlight in my pocket. I gotta have light to do stuff. I can't just not see what I'm doing. Left Turn Dodge says, our house is 1969, no living room light. I hate it. Exactly. Ridiculous. Put lights in every room. What is it with that? But here's the thing. Here's the solution that'll make you quit hating your house. Just go to Lowe's and get the set of canister lights that you can just recess right in there. They're really not bad to put in. They make some that just stab in and lock in there to where you don't really have to get up in there and do anything. Last time I did that job, I had a friend I bribed to go up in the ceiling, and I told him how to run the lights, how to run the wiring for me. And never heard of that before. No light. Oh, yeah, man, that's the way they're built here. If you have houses in the 50s and 60s, they did not have lights in the living room. They had lights in every other room, not the living room. They had outlets. They had outlets that were switched, so you could throw a switch and turn the lights on. Well, this house is like that. There's no living room light. I never use a living room, though, but I don't like it at all. He said, I can only blame Dad. He built it. He built it like everyone else did then. Unfinished Project says, grab a couple of Harbor Freight LED shop lights. You'll need sunglasses. Yeah. I don't know, man. Just get your recessed lights from Lowe's. They're not hard to put in. And they're LED. You can just put them all on one circuit. Easy. Nothing to it. Razor said, my kitchen had just 2 ceiling lights. Now there's 13. Good for you. Yeah, you ought to look into that. That's an American house thing. Drives me crazy. And then, of course, you know, I sell houses. That's what I do. So when I go in these houses that are vacant, have no furniture, have no lamps, go in the living room, you can't get any light. Throw the switch, doesn't do anything. Lizzie says, picked up a side table from the trash. It was an Errol Saarinen table from his shop in 1957. Cleaned it up and sold it for $750. Oh, good for you. I like that. That Mopar Diagnostic Terminal that was being thrown out at New River Community College, I've been offered good money for the keyboard and the circuit board in that thing. Nobody cares about the big CRT monitor or the cabinet, which I figured people would like, but they like those parts. But I haven't parted it out or anything. Yeah, good for you. I like stories like that. People find stuff in the trash and flip it for money. There's a YouTuber on here I know that does that and makes good money doing it. Left Turn Dodge says, our kitchen has one in the center. We've added a lot under the cabinets. Yes. Danny Boyd says, I put a ceiling fan in my living room or parlor. Well, you're in Ohio, so it's a living room. I have separate switches for the light and fan too. 14.3. There you go. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I tried to wire up a ceiling fan, didn't know what I was doing, and I smoked that thing. Yeah, I know enough about household AC electricity to be dangerous. I can do okay now. It's just not really my thing. I'm having to do some right now to get a house up to code, to get it up to par. KJ Kylie says, 2-car garage size has shrunk over the years too. Yes, it has. There's next to nothing with a 2-car garage being built anymore that you can actually get 2 cars in. And the lots are really small and the garages are really small. People want, you know, fanciness. That's what they want now. They want fanciness. Mohawk says, I do like a lamp on my bedside table. Makes the room seem cozier. I have a lava lamp on the nightstand. Blue Collar Performance Nate, howdy, thanks for joining us. He says, most things we do badly before we do them well. This is true. So we should never let our ego keep us from doing stuff that we might do badly, because that's how we get to do things well, right? I have really enjoyed watching the evolution of Blue Collar Nate's channel. That guy's just been learning and going, and he would send me messages about different things he tried. And it's been fun to watch him, because that guy really likes to dig in and learn and grow. And he's got an attitude to do that, and I like it. He's a worthy winner of the No Name 500 Cinderella Award the year he was in the No Name 500. I believe that was the second annual, if I'm remembering correctly. Unfinished Project says candles are cozy too. Okay. Mexican Spec says, I've never taken drugs, but I can sit and watch a lava lamp for a long time. I just think they're cool. I've always thought they were cool. Big Mike says, I just recently replaced the original 1993 flush-mounted fluorescent lights in Mama's kitchen with some modern farmhouse-style fixtures. Yeah. Whatever you like there. Danny Boyd says, restaurant manager asks Dirty Dan the driver to replace the cord on the slicer. Nah, anybody with that nickname, I don't think I want them doing electrical work. I rebuilt a 1406 Edelbrock for a friend. It was the nastiest carburetor I'd ever dealt with internally, full of sand on the passenger fuel bowl. Yeah. I've done a couple of those, the old Carter style, but they were that style. They're okay. I've seen a few people get good results running a pair of those on a tunnel ram too. Dougster says, remember kids, only users lose drugs. What campaign is that from? I remember all the Dare stuff and all that. Aunt D said, our house was built in the 50s, fireplace, but no living room lights. Exactly, same thing. Big fan of oil lamps as well. Racer Ray wants to know what Dougster's secret cleaning sauce for the carburetor is. I have a friend who swears by using Pine Sol for doing carburetors. Pine Sol cleaner. He says he can get them cleaner with that than anything, and I'm surprised. Dougster's saying Pine Sol. A friend of mine tried that. It's a current thing going, but he swears by it. He did, I think, a motorcycle and a boat carburetor with it. Said he was shocked. I mean, you know what? That's a thing. Dougster says, usually I boil it. Makes sense. Smells like a Carolina pine forest. I can go with that. Dizzy says, this house was built in 73, still has the original cabinets and blue shag carpeting downstairs. This house was built in 73 and still has some original Pergo in it, a couple places. Warm, cold, or an ultrasonic? Racer Ray wants to know. Blue Collar Performances, I used to build blow-through Edelbrocks. They're a thing all their own. I use Zep Citrus Degreaser. It's incredible. Well, there you go. Dougster says, I want to use Pine Sol and an ultrasonic. And Blue Collar Nate likes the Zep Citrus Degreaser. So I'm getting different opinions in the chat. This is always a good thing. You guys build stuff, and I like hearing what you do, what you use. Thumper says he has a Harbor Freight ultrasonic cleaner that works great for the carbs. I have antifreeze in it right now. We'll try Pine Sol. Antifreeze in? Why do you have antifreeze in it? Mohawk says his house was built in 08. and only has a terrible ceiling fan with very poor lighting in the living room. Fix it. I won't tell you. I'd fix it, but an OH think they do a little better. Danny Boyd says, my house had a 1980s Miami Carey light fixture in the first floor. When I first saw that out of the corner of my eye, I thought it was Mariah Carey. 1980s Mariah Carey. What would she be, like 20 years old? A 1980s Miami Carey light fixture in the first floor bath. Okay. So it doesn't freeze. Oh, gosh. It's too cold. It's just entirely too cold for that. Dean has to bring up the Citron. Aunt Dee's had really good luck with Simple Green and my heated parts washer. Okay. My shop is only heated when I'm in it, so it doesn't freeze, but it also does nice cleaning carbs. Okay. Blue Collar Performance says, lemon lime. I learned about that stuff when I was racing go-karts. Wipe some on your tires and see what it does. Okay. Dougster says, prefer boil. Will clean a carb thoroughly in an hour, but it will do the same thing soaking in cold Pine Sol for 24 hours. Big bottle of Pine Sol and enough water to cover all the carb parts. So how much do you dilute it? What do you dilute it? Like you're just saying big bottle. What's the ratio actually there? Oh, this is neat. I never thought about that. Aunt Dee's used an old crock pot with Simple Green. That sounds like a good idea. I never thought about doing a crock pot for that. Left Turn Dodge says Simple Green on racing slicks works wonders too. So what does it do? Just soften the rubber? Yeah, exactly. Thumper says, Bill from Old Man's Garage uses a crock pot with antifreeze for carbs. Never heard of that. That's interesting. Brings them back if the rubber gets hard on them. So how do you do that? I mean, you can't really do the sidewalls, right? So you're just putting this on the tread. Is that how you're dealing with it? Blue Collar Nate says makes them sticky, but so if the rubber compound gets hard where it just outgasses with age, you just put that on the tread. Mexican Spec, what do the 3 black stripes mean on the orange card? Dougster saying the big bottle is at least a quart of Pine Sol, so maybe a 50-50 mix. Okay, there you go. Aunt D says Simple Green does a pretty good job on white walls as well. Just the tread. Okay, well, that's what I'm thinking. Interesting. Very interesting. I have some old slicks. Maybe we could try that sometime. Are you coming to the No Name Nationals Mexican Spec? Peckerwood Customs talking about a step-side truck that Mexican Spec had on his channel, undoubtedly. Danny Boyd says, fill an ultrasonic with Worcestershire sauce, throw some meat in there. Yeah, it sounds like him. He says WD-40 works too. I don't even really know what's in WD-40. Dougster says, boil the Pine Sol outside. It's too intense in the house on the stove. Ask me and Lady Dougster. Well, there you go. So you boil it outside. I'd like to get with you on that. That sounds interesting to me. I want to try that. Unfinished Project says, I threw the rubber steering column filler piece from the C30 in the heated ultrasonic with Dawn. It's like new now, clean and pliable. Dougster says WD-40 is mainly mineral. Well, that's what I was thinking, but I just kind of wondered once Nate said that if it had like a citrus component or something to it, but I've never smelled that. Nupper says don't use it where you plan to paint an exterior finish. Oh yeah, that stuff will fish out paint badly. I knew a guy that ran a body shop downstairs from a detailing shop, and you know where this is going. He said those detailers would get that armor all in the air and it would get in their paint. It was miserable. Aunt D wants to try the Pine Sol. Yeah, a buddy of mine said he had really, really good results, and I'm hearing some people here saying they've had good results with it too. Yeah, USDA approved. Yeah, that it is. Dean says a Citron that surrendered early. I had a French scammer one time. He's trying to sell me something. I can't remember what it was now. And I asked him if he sold surrender jumpsuits, emergency surrender jumpsuits, because that's what France does, is surrender and give up and be conquered. Dougster said it has to be original scent Pine Sol. All other ones leave an oily film on the aluminum. Good to know. It's very good to know. Unfinished Project said Pine Sol is great for floors too. Imagine that. Busy says, wonder if you can use an abrasive fine silica sand in the ultrasonic. Oh gosh, I think it's the last thing I'd want to put in where I'm trying to clean a carb. Dean says French scammers are the best. I like even better the scammers from somewhere else pretending to be French scammers. I had one that said he owned a French airline. I won't tell you what I wrote him back in French. Of course, he never picked up on it. Razor says, what's the point of the freezing point of Pine Sol? Asking for a friend. No idea. I'm just learning about this Pine Sol stuff. Dougster says best floor soap is Murphy's Oil Soap. I'm assuming we're talking about wooden floors here. Thumper says the Harbor Freight Ultrasonics have a cleaning solution you can use. I wouldn't put sand in it because it would just end up in the bottom. Yeah. Danny Boyd says Royal Scammers. Okay. Not much less than water on the freezer. Well, that's what I would imagine. I mean, for that Pine Sol, I would imagine it's close to that of water, I would think, but I don't know. Aunt D's WD-40 to few entire cars to keep the patina. Okay. Dougster says, I haven't frozen it, but I did have it soaking last night in the foyer of my house. Hope to think it wouldn't freeze in the foyer of your house. It gets pretty cold in most of this house where I don't keep much of it warm, but not freezing. Aunt D has the ultrasonic cleaner from Harbor Freight and has good luck with dish soap. Yeah, a lot of things we can learn from this. I think it's interesting. The first ultrasonic cleaners I was seeing weren't for automotive use. They were gun shows. People were using them to clean old brass. The gun shows, you normally see the tumble, the ones that do the tumble to media, and they clean the brass that way, but I've also seen ultrasonic cleaners there. Unfinished Project says original Pine Sol freezes around -10 to 0. Wow. A lot lower freezing point than I would think. He says it can start to thicken or form crystals below 10 to 15 and fully solidify closer -10. Okay. Thumper says the vibrating tumbler, if you want to clean rust, ultrasonic is not going to do much for rust. Awesome, dude. Well, of course, the only rusty shell casings would be steel, and nobody, well, I'm not going to say nobody, but people generally don't reload those anyway. Dougster says, when we would wash the floor in the spring at the asphalt company, we would use 2 big boxes of Boraxo and a bottle of Dawn garden hose and push brooms. What a difference. Yeah, I can see that. A lot of work, but I'm sure it would look good. Ginger Vance joins the chat. Hello. Thank you for coming by. Mexican Specs is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. We will be live. Come check out how we've upped our game. So if you guys want to check out Mexican Specs feed, he likes to dive into Mexican market cars down there, Mexican domestic market cars, and it's very interesting. Lots of cool stuff. Lots of things that you never saw offered with manual transmissions here, you would see there. Lots of weird. It's kind of like the animals in Australia, where they evolved on a different track, so they have stuff there we don't have here. Well, it's kind of like that with Mexican vehicles, kind of like that. So, and he knows a lot of stuff about them, so it's a fun, interactive group. They have a pretty good group that turns out for his, so check it out if you get a chance. My Aunt Nancy's been lurking. Dougster says, I was king of the cardboard creeper there. Oh, I love the cardboard creepers. They don't roll out from under you. They give you that little extra room to work. I like the cardboard creepers. But the problem with my cardboard creepers were, I used to stash a bunch of them and when I was a kid. And then when I started teaching firearms classes, I started saving them for cardboard target backers. And then I never had cardboard creepers anymore. So there was a time when I can't tell you how much. There was the rolling mats for office chairs. You know, those things they would put on the carpet so your desk chairs can roll around on, which I hate those things. But the boxes, they would ship those into places like Office Max. They would put about 10 of them in a box, and they had cardboard separating them. They are perfect. So if you can go there when they would stock those things, I would take every one of them out of the box. Also, sometimes the boxes they ship televisions in had these separate cardboard liners in them to protect the TVs. Now, not all of them do. Some of them are all capped with styrofoam in the corners and don't have that to protect the screen. But those are really good too. But you can't get enough of them for the volume I needed. So when I would use the like the IDPA targets, they would have the cardboard ones, but really for teaching, I like the paper ones, but you got to use the backer with the paper ones. I don't know. It was always a pain. What I would usually wind up doing is making about 20 or 30 of them at a time, and I would just go find the boxes and take a box cutter and scribe them, cut them to size. You do a bunch at a time, but it sure would have been handy to have a regular source for that. Unfinished Projects has great weekend to work on the dart sport. Yeah, and you're also not in Wisconsin this upcoming weekend. Danny Boy says, I'm a cardboard creeper king. I'm telling you what, I love the cardboard creeper. I prefer it to the rolling creeper. Blue Collar Performance says, thermal bubble wrap for a house is amazing as a creeper. Okay, I can see that. Racer says, I have a source for retired business entry mats, magic carpet creepers. I can see that. Indirect Connection says, we're getting 12 inches of snow in the next 30 hours. Exactly. That's what I was saying. Ginger's asking, how many lights are on this Christmas tree? Yeah, she just walked by my tree. 5,200. That's how many lights are on my tree. I'll do this since we're right at time. I'm gonna wind it down now, but I will show you a picture of my tree. There we go. Actually, the easiest way to do it is for me to screenshot this, crop it from my. That's the easiest way for me to find it. Otherwise, it would be a lot of digging. But here's a picture of me with the tree when I had my plug for my Christmas live stream. I had 5,025 incandescents on there. It's a 9-foot tree, and now it's got 5,200 LED, and it is on today. So anyway, and with that, that's the one I had the 318 under. Or was it? Yeah. No, it was a 340. Had a 340 under the tree. I said it's a 318. It's a 340 actually. But anyway, with that, we are wrapping up for now. Yeah, tree calls brown, kind of like Clark Griswold, right? Rich says, thanks for the No Name Nationals t-shirt and the stickers. So Rich has finally decided that I'm the one who sent it. If you look at the return address, it came from Cardboard Rich 220, very clearly, Rich. It came from Cardboard Rich 220. But anyway, yes, Rich got a No Name National shirt because if you remember, I said that we would send him the shirt off the back of Cardboard Rich. So made good on that. Wanted to send it. Glad you're enjoying that thing, man. Rich, have a good Thanksgiving. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. And I hope all of you guys did, and hope you'll all be enjoying this holiday season. Also, real quick before we're out of here, I'm probably going to be rescheduling next Friday night's live, or I'll have a guest host, one of the two. We'll be advising you about that sometime this week, because I'm going to be at the Roanoke Symphony Orchestra this time next week. So with that, we'll either have a guest host on this channel or reschedule to a different time. But one way or the other, I will not be live from 8 to 10 Eastern this upcoming Friday. But I hope you guys stay warm, do something fun this week, enjoy time with family, and I am out. See you guys again next weekend, sometime in there. Just won't be the regular time. Take care.